didn't apply the tourniquet right and bled out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and, somebody we know pretty well on his show says quite often, do you know anybody that has been, or even knows anybody that has been involved in a mass shooting? And we actually do.
Yeah.
It's the knowledge, and it's not, like you said, it's not just YouTube videos. It's fucking practicing. We keep cheap-ass tourniquets to throw on. Mm-hmm. We waste tons of material. And we're not certified in shit for that. No.
We've taken enough classes.
Good Samaritan law.
Well, the thing that I've always got with this is that you're only going to be shooting in a firefight. They say is 5 to 10 minutes is the worst it's ever going to get. After that, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to be helping people. You're going to be helping people because I think the reason why most of us take training classes and take this serious is that where we live in rural areas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are our first responders. Yeah, I mean, they're
like our response time out here. You just saw how it is to get out here. And you're not even to his house yet.
No.
And it's a 26-minute response time out here.
I live in Farmington, in the center of town, basically, and it can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. What happens in 5 to 15 minutes?
People die.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to do that.
Exactly.
So,
bad for Farmington.
Yeah, but it's not a function in Farmington. The reason why you have to think about it is they don't have enough law enforcement agents.
No,
period.
Nobody does.
Yeah, and it's a function of geography where we live. That if you're trying to go from one point to another, even if you're out of district or in district, you have a massive amount of space to get through.
Yeah,
so it's not that they're not going to get there. They're going to get there.
Yeah,
but
it's going to take a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, and I've talked to one of my really good friends is Shane Ferrari in Farmington. Yeah. Okay, he's in San Juan County. Yeah. He's the sheriff of San Juan County, and he's actually very pro 2A.
Yeah.
And he's very much that guy that tells you that I want my guys to be there to help you, but they're not. They're not going to be there as fast as I want them to be.
No.
So
you're in your first line of defense.
Right.
You actually put that on our page today.
I did.
Jared talking about it. Yeah.
So I agree with that, and I mean, I was talking about the rule of 5 guns also, and they kind of chuckled at me, and I think that every American should have 5 guns. They should have a 22 for hunting small game, okay, and teaching other people how to shoot.
Yep.
You should have a black rifle, either an AK or an AR-15. You should have a deer rifle, a shotgun, and you should have a concealed carry gun.
Right.
Those are the 5 guns at the minimum you should have. And anybody that says, well, you only need one for all of that, you don't need that many guns. I challenge you in that if you're going to do this and get into this mindset and into this hobby, you need to think about all the times you would use this tool. This is a tool. I mean, this is a ratchet to me. Yeah. If you look at this, as much as they call this a unicorn, you'll see dings and scratches on parts on it because I run it. I mean,
I'm kind of offended at that. Like,
I'm not.
That should just be in a safe.
No.
Well, I'm a fan. If you own it, you should shoot it. And
damn right.
And
yeah. Oh no, I'm with you 100%.
I have 100-year-old rifles. I have 7mm Mauser rifles that were made in 1907, and I still take out and shoot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This guy, I got it because I already had a 5.56 AK, but I actually like the Rock and Lock mag that we were talking about. Some of us are getting used to, but I like the Rock and Lock because with the AR-15, I'm always tugging at the magazine to make sure it's not going to come out.
How many times have you seen a guy slam in a mag and then go to fucking charge it or hit a bolt carrier?
With this, I don't have that problem. Right. Once I hear it click, it goes in there. The other thing is that a lot of guys will take their rifle and they'll either do what Center T tells you, which is up here. I've never done that. I've always done what Sonny says, and I reach under and I slide it, and it rolls.
Yeah, it's instinct now.
So I was taught this by an ex-ranger, and this is what I use in competition. So you rock it out, relock it, and you're stuffed in here this whole time, so you have your vision, everything's right here, right? So you do that, and I don't know, it may be slower, I don't know, but then you flip it over.
So, you know who teaches that? Rob Ski.
Oh, yeah.
Rob Ski at AKOU, if you watch his videos, he actually talks about the AK reload. And he says, you can be high speed and fine. However, does it work every time?
Right.
And there are still those cases where you get a stovepipe or whatever. You would see that when you do that.
Yeah. And everything's like tucked in
right
there.
here.
It's
your
not
workspace
moving.
is tight.
Yeah.
And
And then you flip it up. I can see my charging handle. You know, I just rip it back, and then I'm up and ready to go.
And it makes sense. That is the big thing with the AKY. I had to have one of these guys. I had to have a 5.56. But I have other AKs.
Yeah.
And I also have ARs. And one of the biggest problems I've ever had with an AR, and you're going to laugh at me, this is a snobby point, is with this rifle, you can hold it in one hand and charge it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, with an AR, you have to do this maneuver right here, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you get an ambi charging lever, that stops that.
Yeah.
But then immediately when you do that, and you're a hunter or a shooter, right, you want to lock the bolt back. It just something you do, right?
Bad lever.
So that's where the bad lever came in, and why I have one is it became something that, okay, if I'm going to get preppy and want to have an AR-15, it's got to have the bad lever, and it's got to have the other pieces.
Yeah.
So.
For those that don't know, the bad lever, BAD stands for battery assist device. So all it does, when it's charged,
Can I get a little dangerous?
So it puts this tab under your trigger, and it hits the ping pong paddle for you,
It's cool.
and it just
You
dumps
wanna
the bolt
check it.
for you. That's
We checked
all
it
they
like
are.
7
Some
times
people hate
before we
them.
started.
Few people love them. I keep it on my precision AR that I just threw against the wall.
Right here.
Yeah.
The other thing I did with this is my almost John Wick build, but not quite, is...
Roden says Spetsnaz or go home.
yeah, Spetsnaz.
I am home, Roden.
So, but this has an ambi mag release too. So, again, because if you come from the AK world to the AR, you're used to just being able to pull a
Rock it
mag
out.
and strip it. So the button's cool, you know, but I wanted it on both sides. Okay, and then they were teasing me because this is like a really cheap build until you get here. My charging handle is a Geisley Airborne supercharging handle.
So his charging handle was half the cost. Of
And it can be pulled from either side, and it can't get snagged on anything.
And I have the Radiant Raptor on my pistol, which is the same thing.
Basically the same.
A little bit less money, I think.
Yeah.
Mine's about $80.
Yeah. And then mine has nickel boron bolt carrier.
Which I'm really happy with those.
And
They wipe off so easy.
it makes them so much simpler to clean.
Oh, yeah.
And the only problem I've ever had with this AR is when I first got it, I had to change the gas rings almost immediately. And that's never happened to me with an AR before.
I've never even heard of it.
Replace the gas rings because it was cycling about half a mag and then it would start messing up. This is the first time I did that.
So they weren't just misaligned?
They were actually... you know the test, the Colt Armor test. You take the bolt carrier, set it on a flat surface, and if it falls, you need to replace the rings.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It failed that immediately, so I just replaced the rings. And after having and building AR-15s, I keep like a gross of those because I know it's the one part that's always going to fail.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've talked a lot.
That's fine,
Actually,
man.
no, that was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very happy with the conversation.
Yeah. like we were talking about earlier, and for those of you guys like Roden and those guys that have listened to us from the beginning, I can't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about like working in a gun shop, and I'm not the type of gun guy that knows every fucking gun ever made. Like I know what I know, and I'm good at what I do, and the guys like Sean that have like an extensive knowledge like of pretty much every fucking firearm. I have a lot of respect for these guys. Like I'll never be at that level. Like, but
it's my daddy and my brothers. I've been shooting since I was 4 years old, guys. Yeah. So I mean, it's a passion. You can tell that this is something I'm passionate
absolutely.
about.
Yeah, no.
And what's the deal is with me is seeing guys that are trying to do something cool, like what I know you guys are trying to do. I wanted to help as much as I could. So off camera, I told them, hey, guess what? I have a pretty decent collection. If you guys want to borrow these rather than buy them, hey, let's work something out.
Yeah. Well, to be perfectly honest, we're gonna run out of shit to
Yeah.
test and demo and shoot and fuck around with. It's gonna get boring. So somebody like you that is willing to let us mess with stuff
and not buy it.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then just give honest feedback. Like if you take one of the weapons and it malfunctions all the time, that to me is a flag to say, hey, guess what? I need to fix this somehow because this shouldn't happen.
If it's gonna break, I'm gonna break it.
Yeah,
I'm the breaking guy.
You saw what he did to my pistol.
I challenge that because I work really hard to make the guns not break, and I say that because you can ask my friend Dexton. We're both PTR guys, and he had one that was malfunctioning. Took me about 2 weeks to figure out what the problem was, but it's running now like a champ.
What was the problem?
So PTR likes to use stainless steel extractors.
Oh.
Okay? And the problem is they're not milled the same way that HKs are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the HK extractor is $7.95. The PTR one is $35 or $21, depending on where you get it. And there's this little bitty pin that you are like... Yeah, it's a pin, but it's like a king pin that you use to put that in there. You have to replace that every time you replace an extractor. Well, the stainless steel one actually mushroomed out and wouldn't slide correctly like it's supposed to in the bolt face.
Yep.
The HK one, which is lesser metal, supposedly, has never had a problem.
And are they interchangeable?
Oh, yeah. Everything with the PTR 91, they are 99% part compatible with HKG3s.
Wow.
Because they were made by... What happened was PTR 91 bought the original data packet and all their tooling from a Portuguese HK manufacturer.
Okay, gotcha.
G3s were, believe it or not, produced almost as much as the FAL, if not more, in the world. So they're more prevalent out in the world than the FAL. Most of the places you can find them.
Not here.
Well, why I like it is the gun is...
Because HK hates us, alright?
Yeah. And they don't really hate us. They hate our damn laws. We wrote laws to keep HK out of Clear City here. I mean, that isn't on them. That's our stupid law guys.
No.
I mean, what if you look at the HKG3, it is kind of that in between this and the AK as far as maintenance and what it does. I will say, because of the way it works, it is a dirty whore. Every ammunition, you can buy the best 308 ammunition, and you're going to walk away when you clean it black. Completely black. It's because of what it does.
System.
Well, it doesn't have a gas system.
Well, I'm sorry.
But no, it that's what's different.
Right.
Is everybody it has a gas system, but it's not a normal
Right.
gas one. It uses those flukes, the fluting in the chamber to float the case and throw it out. But in doing that, there's a lot of carbon everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
It's all just right there.
Yeah, it is dirty as hell.
So, in theory, you could put a fire control group from a G3 into a PTR.
You can.
That's amazing.
The only problem with that is if you get caught, because there are full auto ones you can buy for $40.
Well,
and
no, I'm not saying do that.
No. But they are 100% part compatible.
Right.
So you can take that fire control group with the PTR and the HK, you drop the lower off of it, you spin the safety up, pull it out, and the whole fire control group can come out. The difference is that there's a shelf on the PTR that supposedly stops that from happening, but I have known people that have put...
You can mill it out.
Oh, you don't even have to mill it. You actually can drop it in and it sits on top of it and still works.
Holy shit.
So the problem with that is that it doesn't have that front pin, so it can teeter and cause malfunctions. But it will do the bad stuff.
Right. Well, no, I'm saying if you were able to get your hands on a registered
fire
control group.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing all legal shit.
Oh, yeah. if you can get your hands on a registered HK fire control group,
good luck. But
you could put it in that. If you change the extractor, you can actually put it in what's called the HK33 or the C96 or the Zenith. Not Zenith. I'm sorry. Zenith. They're 5.56, yes, or they're MP5 clones.
Right.
The MP5 clone, you have to change the hammer and I believe the extractor because they're way different. They're shorter because of the cartridge, but most of the parts inside of them can be replaced. Like